Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack. Unfortunately, there is no pre-show and no Rick this week due to life events. However, you do get 2 bonus shows that come out every month. Go to patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $1 a month will get you access to bonus content. And now on to the meat and potatoes. All right, this week we are covering season 3 of the Irregular at Magic High School. And basically it's Tatsuya and Miyuki are heading into their second year at First High. And this time, the piece lasts about, again, maybe 5-ish minutes. And Tatsuya is transferred into the newly created Magic Engineering Corps, a direct result of everything that he pulled off in the 9 schools competition for his first year, and he's hoping for something resembling a normal school life. That hope really doesn't actually survive, though, being that plot, as it usually happens. Basically, the political group called Blanche starts stirring up anti-magician sentiment through the media, and it's the exact same kind of group that we actually ran into at the end of season 2. But this time you are also getting Gongjin Zhou, who goes on the run with these traditionalists seeking shelter in Kyoto, and the Kudo family also gets caught up in secretly developing these parasite dolls, combat robots that are basically mirroring Tatsuya's robot harem-esque type deal. And he ends up fighting all these dolls and hunting Zhao and navigating the clan, navigating politics, navigating Yotsuba, navigating Kudo, and quietly carrying on more than responsibility anyone actually should. It's basically the same formula that's defined the entirety of everything that we've been watching since episode 1. High school drama tangled with international conspiracy, magical politics, and a protagonist who somehow ends up at the center of everything, somehow pulling it together, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, with it being the second year and Tetsuya basically kind of wandering around in his new Magic Corps uniform and everything like that, we're introduced to a couple of the students, basically the first presidents, I believe Mayumi's younger siblings, they're twins or whatever, and then you're also introduced to someone else entirely at the exact same time, and you're given this kind of more fleshed out the hierarchy, in that there's these pseudo clan houses and there's all these other houses and all these other people that report directly to the master clan, who's one of the 10 clans. And then you also are given some more information on, like, basically Mayumi's father. He's going out there and feeding in to the media anti-magic propaganda and everything like that. And so this season, at least for the first portion of the arcs anyways, you're given a lot of the kind of political struggles and strife, and you're starting to see some of those political workings kind of brought forward. And so you're getting to see a little bit of that, but again, I mean, you're not really given the weight of it. Like, you have Kudo, and quote unquote the excellency, but he's not the prime minister, he's someone else. And so why people call him his excellency when he's not in charge of all the clans, he's just a member of the clans, is kind of weird to me. And so everyone, I mean, they just honestly in the season, they just make it even muddier. But for the first arc, for the first portion of it, you have 7, right, for the arc name. And it focuses on Kasumi and Izumi, which is basically Mayumi's younger sisters who are there. And then you also have Takuma, who's a member of the branch family for the So basically Mayumi's family, one of the 10 master clans, and they basically spend the entirety of this entire arc kind of revolving around them, surrounding them, showing you like the guy's got a chip on his shoulder and he's very angry and for whatever reason. And apparently you can, and they lightly touch on it, that you can basically challenge and change the strategic or change who the master clan is for the 10 master clans. So there's a vote or something like that that happens or something, but they don't really kind of dive into it, right? I mean, like I mean, dude, watching this, honestly, you don't get any real sustenance. You don't get any real answers, right? You don't get any structure. You don't get any like deals. It's like, okay, they have politics, or okay, they have pull in terms of military and things like that, but that's stuff that they laid out in the first in the OVA and or in the other seasons. And then magicians being in the military, they've laid that out, and they've laid out that there's special use cases for them. But you don't have a lot of information in that, because you also have the fact that it's supposedly not a great thing, and they're small in number, and they don't have a lot of pull, and they don't have a lot of weight and everything else for it. So it's either there's a lot of them or there's not. There's a lot of magicians or there's not a lot of magicians. There's, you know, a lot of pull for them or there's not a lot of pull for them or anything else. And apparently, you know, like going back to what we talked about, right? Talked about for Reminiscence arc and season 1. You know, you have this giant Okinawa explosion that should qualify as a strategic class. You saw this at the end of the Reminiscence arc. And they do a couple of small segments at the beginning of it where they kind of explain the Reminiscence arc away and how there's everything else. But what the arc basically gives you is like the term is like used consistently, even in season 2, it's still used consistently. Strategic class. They even said it within the first like 2 episodes of season 3. Strategic class. Okay. Well, what makes them a strategic class, right? It basically it qualifies as a power level. There's super magic power or whatever it is. It's like, okay, where like at what point does that like qualify you as a strategic class magician? And they never touch on that. They talk about it at the beginning of the season. They lightly touch on it. They talk about magic power. They talk about strength and everything like that, but they don't talk about anything else beyond that for it when it comes to that. And it's never connected to what Tatsuya did years earlier. I mean, okay, so basically they hid it, but they hid it from everyone. And how? I mean, if strategic magic is treated as this rare and significant designation, why does nobody in the universe ever bring up that Tatsuya is arguably qualified even as a child, even before the class technically existed? Because, I mean, that did happen, and then they didn't bring it up until much, much later. So, I mean, we never get the idea behind it. And then going from that loose kind of terminology, we're still kind of also straddling Mayumi's sisters, the 2 twin sisters, and their whole shenanigans. I mean, it's the Irregular at Magic High School, and then we're focusing on a lot of other characters and some small side conversations that are happening throughout. And then that's it. Like we don't get too much else in regards to that. It's like he effectively, for the entirety first portion of the anime of season 3, he is a background character. He's there as decoration to provide some flavored text. He is not the main character, and the people that are main characters aren't even the main characters because they're just horrible. Like not that they're like cruddy individuals. I mean, like, because some of them are, but it's they come into this high school, Magic High School, and basically Takuma, he's like, I'm really powerful, blah blah blah. How can second years who've only been doing this a year longer than me or whatever else. How could they be so strong and everything else and blah 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 blah. It's like, really? Like, you think people that as soon as they reach first high, that's it? They just I don't need to continue working. I mean, it's like, come on, man. The first year that they were there, or the previous year, they had to deal with terrorists. They had to deal with, you know, all kinds of stuff from there from the year prior. And you come in and it's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. And I don't have to really do anything. So for the entirety first portion of it, you're given a, oh, well, he's kind of like whatever. And then we're brought back into the parasite dilemma from season 2, where the Kudo family, you saw his quote unquote excellency take one of the parasite dolls, and then you have the Yotsubas take one of the parasite dolls. And basically, the parasite dolls are supposed to be used for national defense testing during the Nine Schools competition. And what they end up doing during the Nine Schools competition is they're like, oh, we're going to change it so that way it's military training, and everyone's kind of freaking out about that. It's like, I'm sorry, you have shooting and tactics and fighting and everything else that has to deal with it. Why would the changes of the fighting be different for you? I mean, you're already being trained. And then they introduce the political strife, and they introduce people going around saying, oh, well, Magic High School is just shoving all these students directly into the military, is what they're actually doing. Like, okay, cool. Thank you for that. But you don't really say anything beyond that. And for the parasite dolls and everything else, you're having more Tatsuya screen time, but you're seeing some of the side clan arc as well, and they're getting more screen time. But from how the season 2 ended and how things are going and progressing throughout season 1, or season 3 rather, and you're told that the Yotsubas are untouchable, the untouchable Yotsuba clan. And for the Steeplechase arc, I mean, yeah, you're seen and you're kind of shown lightly, basically, that the Yotsuba clan has leverage, has art, some pull for it. But how season 2 ended, and from what's happening here, you don't really necessarily see them as untouchable. Right? You just see them with a negotiation ideology or ability to be able to do certain things. But where the true leverage comes in for them is when they capture one of the colonels. But it doesn't really seem like that's unique or special to the Yotsuba clan. I mean, I feel like anyone could have done it because they all basically have national defense ties. And that's what it basically amounts to, is like they do this, whatever, they have enough pull to be able to do this. But a lot of the clans, apparently, from my understanding, from what I see, have enough pull. It's just the Yotsubas are the ones that have the gall to just go and actually do it. And basically they move through, and they are kind of like a powerhouse for the 10 clans. And from what I understand and from how it's explained, is they are the head of the 10 master clans. So it's not that they are necessarily untouchable, that no one goes after them, because we saw in the Reminiscence arc, like, the people go after them anyways. And people, even in the season 3 and everything else, you see a lot of that internal strife and political struggle for them. It's that they're untouchable because they're willing to do whatever it basically takes to have the outcome end in their favor. And that's it. I mean, it's not that they're literally untouchable, because, well, people be touching them all over the place. Also, you have a lot more emotion starting to rise out of Tatsuya as well in the 3rd season, and it really comes to play in the Steeplechase arc as well, because what he ends up doing, he's pushing himself. He's given a mission, and he's wants to do this mission, or he has to do this one thing, and he's trying to take on everything else himself, and he's pushing himself hard. It's like, if you're emotionless and you have no emotion and you don't care about anyone else other than your sister, like what's being claimed, well, that's not necessarily true. I just feel like he probably at that point guarded his emotions other than just one. And because he's growing up and because he's being allowed to live basically a free life, he's gathering and garnering more of these emotions. He's able to feel these things. He's able to actually enjoy life a little bit more. So I feel like his whole emotional dampening was only temporary, and now he's finally starting to really kind of break through with that as well. So I mean, like the thing that really kind of set him apart at the very beginning, where he has no real emotion except for anyone other than his sister, that's changed. That's been changing from season 1 to season 2, and all the way here in season 3. That's definitely changing. And then, you know, you also have a lot of ties in season 3 that also go back to season 1 for a lot of the characters that happen in season 1, but you also kind of get introduced to some new characters and some other small subplot side characters that you never get answers for, but you also see the Kudo family and the quote unquote excellency also kind of touch on it. So you get the kind of resolutions for some of them, like Gongjin, the guy basically at the beginning of season 1 who brought in these terrorists to help and then turned around and betrayed him and got rid of him. You're going to get a resolution with him, kind of, with this one, supposedly, is what we're told, shown, but not really, kind of, at the exact same time. It's kind of iffy on it. But here we are all the way at the end of season 3, still in the reminiscence arc. We've now talked about the Yatsubas, we've talked about the Kudos, we've talked about the political strifes and everything like that, and discussed and explored the reminiscence arc, how it's not necessarily magic, the power, why the fact that he's, you know, doesn't have clan blood or anything like that. I mean, like season 2, they made a point of highlighting Tatsuya's lack of 10 Master Clan blood as if it mattered, but then never explained why. The reminiscence arc revisited the exact same territory, still didn't answer it. And here we are in season 3. We still don't get an answer for it, why that was brought up. We still don't have a point of contention for it. We get details as to Tatsuya, his birth, and some things that were circulating around that ended up getting walked back when he was born. And I'm not gonna kind of delve into it because I want you to kind of watch it. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that actually hasn't seen it. But at the exact same time, I think we still don't get any answers for it. We're already here. We're at the end of the season 3. We're still kind of moving through it. We revisit the clans and the blood and everything like that. We still get nothing. We don't get any answers. We get answers about Tatsuya. We get answers about his life. We are told and given a kind of ideology and internal struggle for it. And then you're also given kind of a viewpoint for other people. And going back to the Okinawa event, right? At this point, we're finally given basically a light resolution of it, that all the events that are happening in this arc and that happen throughout are all linking back to that one thing that they call this naval defense battle. And that's it. And his name is being swept under the rug, or someone else is being told that they're being the strategic class or whatever. And they bring up strategic class again, but not given anything beyond that. What makes them a strategic class? Is it the power? Is it a feat? Like, what is it? Because one of the strategic classes individuals that went up against Tatsuya in season 2 really wasn't that powerful, and they really weren't all that strong. So what makes or qualifies someone as a strategic class? And I keep going back to that, and I know what but I just can't wrap my head around it. And also during this entire thing, we're given more information and more, I guess you could say, more kind of digging into the 10 Master Clan politics and everything like that, having to deal with them. So, which kind of helps out a little bit to understand the inner dynamics and inner workings of it, because even at the very end, you're seeing kind of a resolution for it, or a structure starting to finally emerge after 3 seasons in an OVA. But it took 3 seasons in an OVA to get it. But also, I want to point out, that one of the biggest, I dare say, comedic moments for me was the end of season 2, or not season 2, sorry. The end of episode 12, beginning of episode 13. You have, and this is going to be a big spoiler, but well, not really a big spoiler, but basically you have our twincest duo, Tatsuya and Miyuki. Basically, she's at the beginning of season 13. She's, hey, I want to carry your burden. I want to help carry your burden and lighten the load and tell me what you saw and everything like that. Because he looked deep enough to see with his elemental sight to see the origins of one of the kudos, the basically the brother who's always sick and weak and everything else, and he was horrified by what he saw and it broke him. And I could be reading it wrong completely, but basically the reason why is because through genetics of not necessarily giving birth through an incestuous relationship, but through artificial insemination of a brother and a sister or something like that, he is born. And not Tatsuya, but the one of the kudos. And so when Tatsuya tells Miyuki this, Miyuki is heartbroken. She goes, "Oh no, there's consequences to actions like that. Oh my gosh." This is how I basically saw it. And it was hilarious. I could not just wrap my head. It's like, yeah, there are real world consequences to things like that. And just the two of them basically being shooken up from that, and that there's consequences, I found ridiculous and funny. And that would be the next closest thing to Bloodline in terms of Ten Master Clan Bloodline that I saw that would even come close to kind of resembling anything having to do with that. Was absolutely ridiculous. I like the whole trauma portion of it. I thought was dumb, but given how their relationship is, I totally understand it and I can see it too. So it is what it is, but still it's kind of dumb. Anyways, I've rambled on long enough, but to kind of wrap it up, I mean, like, we still have no answers for the blood commentary for why it's important, why it's not important, or anything like that. We get their untouchable reputation is basically kind of just a reputation. It's not that they actually are, it's something else entirely. Get the Okinawa events from beginning of season 1, reminiscence arc referenced again consistently, so at least it's there. However, strategic class terminology is thrown out there even more. It's still unaddressed largely. There's in fact even more questions that I have that are still not answered because they go through it, and then they also kind of touch on some of the other technology that Tatsuya is developing and building. You see small incremental changes for that being spread throughout there, but that's about it. And then as far as the maid's lifespan, like they don't touch on that. They don't talk about it. They talked about the artificially created individuals and all this other stuff, but they don't give us any answers in terms of that. They also basically start backtracking on the emotional cost of Tatsuya's basically awakening or whatever it is. And he moves from, and I want to say this too, because he moves in at season 2 struggling, like really struggling with sealing and stopping all the parasites and everything else, to, oh well, this other people already have this really great way to seal them, so I'm just gonna copy that and seal them permanently or whatever it is, and is able to fight without any issues or problems. And you have a lot of the characters that were a very big pivotal point or main focal points in season 1 or season 2 that just completely disappeared in season 3. And half the time, Tatsuya wasn't even the main focal point, even though he should have been the main focal point for season 3. And you had a lot of the backtracking and a lot of kind of open-ended questions that are still out there. It's like, okay, you backtrack to this. Why? What was the purpose of this? You gave me no answers. So, I mean, is it as bad as season 1 and season 2? I would say no. Do I get more resolution? Do I get some answers? Not really, but you get some. I mean, it's like we're making progress for it, but it's not enough to make me happy. It's not enough to really answer any of the questions that I've had for the first 2 seasons and movie and now season 3. So I don't know. I I don't have too much more to say on it, in all honesty, uh, because it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I know that there's a movie coming out and probably even a season 4. Maybe I'll get more answers then. I know that hopefully I'll get more answers, but I mean, you're given all these questions, you're given all these things, and they just do nothing. It's out there, it's sitting out there, and everything else. So there's no weight to a lot of it. It's just flashy words that are thrown out everywhere. So for me, I'm gonna give it a 3. It's there. I would never actually go back and rewatch this. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even. I can't honestly, in good conscience, even recommend it to someone. I don't know a lot of people that I would recommend it to, and there's just a lot of ridiculous nonsense in this, and just a lot of incomplete thoughts, incomplete answers, and there's a lot of points in here where you just, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? Why like what is this? What was the random comment for that for? Or contradicting what happened in season 1, season 2 to this in season 3 with what someone says. A lot of it just really doesn't make sense. And I don't know, I am left with a distaste and more questions than anything else. So yeah, 3 for me. So next week, we're going to be talking about Kill Blue, which is a recommendation from Major Montana. Thank you for the recommendation. If you feel like I did too much, not enough, or anything like that, feel free to let us know. All the contact information and everything else is available in the show notes, as well as on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com, where you can follow us, all our socials and everything, Twitch links, everything, all available. Again, featuredanimepodcast.com, all the different ways you can support us as well, and patreon.com/Featured Anime Podcast gets you access to some bonus content every single month. And until next time, I'm Jack, and we'll see you later.